Welcome to the Everyday CPA Show, hosted by me, Kelly Coughlin. I'm a CPA and the CEO at Everyday CPA. I'm also the CEO at Tax RX Center. You know, the hardest thing we all face in life is how do we make good decisions for our business, our home, and our family when we have incomplete and inaccurate information. So, the purpose of the Everyday CPA Show and with me, Kelly the Tax Guy, is to provide more complete and more accurate information on things that matter. Many of these things are financial things, thus, Everyday CPA. And taxes. Well, let's just say if you buy it, own it, sell it, earn it, someone will tax it. All in taxes from all sources cost U.S. taxpayers between 35%, that's in say low tax states, and 60% in the high tax states of their lifetime earnings and wealth. Think of how big that number is. 35 to 60% of everything that you've earned gets taxed. So why taxes? Because it's the single biggest cost a taxpayer will incur in a lifetime, and by far. So we want to talk about taxes. I know it's a dull topic, but it's a very important topic. So what else would you expect from a CPA and a business guy? Today, I have two guests on this show because I believe they have something to say that might help a small business owner, self-employed gig worker, W-2 employee, all trying to survive, compete, and succeed in this difficult yet wonderful world that we have. We think they have something to say or discuss that will give you more complete and more accurate information. Whether you're a business or executive or business owner or author or of an interesting book, well, or maybe the next U.S. president of the United States, we like to have guests that have something to say and that can help you. So these are two guests that I think will help today. So be aware that this is a woke-free zone. So if you're one of the type that looks for safe spaces, this might not be a space for you. But if you're looking for ideas and information to help you make good decisions so you can live a happier, healthier, and wealthier life, then this is your place. So let's roll. I have two guests today. Let me bring them on here right now. I'm going to add Jake Reardon. Jake, are you there?
Yes. Hey, Kelly, how you doing?
Good. And then I'm going to add Jason Hamilton. Look at these studs. Jason Hamilton, a Navy vet, husband,
Yes, sir.
father of three, works with closely held businesses for 20 years. And he says it's mainly independent pharmacies. That's kind of interesting. And assisted in buying and selling many of these businesses. He works for a group called Peterson Acquisitions, and I want to dig into what Peterson does. And I'm looking forward to connecting with him on this. And Jason, why don't you let me bring Jake in here so we can get the intros out of the way. Jake, are you on? Yeah, you're there.
Yes.
Jake is a business broker, husband, father of three, lives in Overland Park, Kansas, also with Peterson Acquisitions. So the dominant theme today is Peterson Acquisitions. Loves to help small business owners realize their dreams of either selling their business or retiring. So that's why we brought these two guys in here. Peterson is an interesting company, and I want to learn more about them. And I thought it's something that that others need to know. So with that said, Jake, let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about you.
Well, as my bio says, I live in Overland Park, Kansas. I mainly am a Peterson Acquisitions business broker. We help sellers sell their business, and then we also get the buyers and help them through the process as well. So it's mainly a seller-focused business for us, but we also help the buyers through the process as well. So it's a long process. There's a lot to it. So you really need an expert to wade through something like this.
All right. Jason, what about you? Give us your thumbnail, your elevator pitch.
Hey, I'll take the same thing that Jake said and add a couple things. What I really like about working with Peterson Associates is the partnerships that we have, the network that we have within our own organization, the vast amount of expertise and training that we have. And at the end of the day, one of our mantras is we help people change their lives. If you're a seller, you're stuck, you don't know what to do, you might have fear, You might have too much attachment to your business, whatever it is. We help provide the clarity and move you forward into the next space of your life.
All right. So anytime you have two guests on, they all want to fight for time. So I'm going to see if we can make it flow. Who's the most senior of the two of you in terms of experience with the company?
That's Jake.
Yeah,
All right,
I think Jason's been doing this longer, but I've been with Peterson longer.
All right. So we're going to give him the seniority rule here. Jason, is that okay with you? All right. So I guess here's what I'd like to start with. Buying and selling any asset, illiquid asset, that is a non-financial asset, is always more challenging than a asset that has a free exchange, free and open exchange, a stock or a commercial paper, that kind of thing. I think we'd all agree on that. So within that kind of continuum, what are you seeing, Jake? What types of businesses, category, generic types of businesses do you think are easy to sell? And the corollary is which ones are harder to sell?
I wouldn't say anything's easy to sell, but I think there's more of an appetite for just like a service type business, like a contractor, HVAC, that kind of thing, painting business. Those kind of things are fairly straightforward to sell. If you price them right, I think and it cash flows well, I think you'll get a buyer fairly quickly, usually within a few months. If we've had a little bit of trouble with the retail, especially in a smaller area, those can be a little harder to sell. Just like if you go to small town retail, it's going to be a little harder to sell. There's just less of a market for those types of businesses. But if a business cash flows well, there'll be a buyer for it.
See, that kind of surprises me. I was going to say the opposite of that asset-based are easier to sell. So I'm going to give Jason an opportunity. Jason, do you agree with what he said?
Yeah, 100%. And I'll speak to the opposite. The ones that I'm finding that are challenging, and something that's very contemporary is a lot of solopreneurship that is trying to sell business coaching type businesses. There's a market for it. Sometimes the cash flow is good, but I believe they're a little more difficult to sell, especially if that thought leader is leaving the company, then really what's really left there. We see a lot of those.
Are you talking like professional services, like my business, an accounting firm? Those are hard to sell?
More in the business coaching, consulting, DEI space. Very good businesses for where they fit, but not everybody's really main ability to run one of those companies. So again, when that main person wants to exit, it's a little challenging for an outsider to step in and carry that ball forward.
Yeah. And then in terms of buying that from an acquisition side, it's that old adage, the assets go home down the elevator every day. And you're really not that's why I thought that your answer would have been, Jake, the harder businesses to sell would have been the service business, but the asset rich businesses, land based, property, plant, equipment, that kind of stuff, I would have thought you'd have said hands down asset based, asset rich companies are easy because you got something tangible there. It doesn't go home in the elevator every night.
Well, usually with a contracting business, you're going to have people already doing the work. So most owners aren't going to be as hands-on. An investor can come in, hire somebody to run those businesses, and be pretty happy with it. So you're not replacing. Now, if the owner's doing the work themselves and doing the sales and doing everything themselves, that's a different story. But normally, we're going to sell the ones that have 10 employees, where the owner is just kind of managing things, or maybe they're just doing the sales, and you can bump somebody up from a project management role and bump that up into sales to take over the owner's role.
That makes sense. So a professional services company, let's say it's a CPA firm, because I know that because that's my firm. if I were the only one getting the business here and doing the tax returns and doing the planning, that would be harder to do, harder to sell than if I have, 10 CPAs, and some of them are young, some of them are old, but there's some longevity there. Fair statement?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, right. Okay. Jason, anything you want to add to that?
I think it is a case by case business, regardless of what market or what businesses we're selling. I will say that if you have a strong cash flow and clean books, it does make everyone's lives easier to sell that business for you.
Yeah. Let's talk about the different geographic markets you guys are in. Jake, are you in the Topeka Lawrence market?
No, that's Jason.
Jason
Yeah,
and
Jason's
Jake.
got Lawrence, Topeka, Manhattan, right? Right, Jason?
Yeah, that's right, and outlying areas, but yes.
All right. I'm in Kansas City, so I know I grew up in Topeka. I'm in Kansas City. I know both markets. What do you guys see the difference being between the two? Jason, you go ahead first.
I've had some exposure to Jake's Market. I've lived here in Olathe for about 12 years now, so I know Kansas City well. I consider myself a local now. Um, but I think as I start to get deeper into the more rural Kansas, my actual territory, it's honestly looking a lot the same. It's a mixture of businesses, construction, HVAC, some restaurants, just a wide variety of businesses that I see for sale in my market. I can't say that it's really any different from Jake's geographically speaking.
Access to capital, are they about the same, do you think?
Mhm. I think they're about the same. Yeah. I mean, again, we're looking to find sellers that are intent to sell, that are at a part of their career where they're gonna allow themselves to sell, and then it always comes down to who's going to buy that business and how are they going to be financed to do so. If we can put all those things together, we're going to sell it regardless of what your market is.
Now you've got some agricultural pockets there. Are you doing
Yes.
any farms? Are you selling any family farm business? Anything there?
No, but I'm surprised I haven't. I'm sure that I will, and I'm looking forward to those conversations. Those are very important businesses. Should be, if managed right through the generations, should be very lucrative. And looking to kind of scratch the surface on that and learn a little bit more about the ag industry in my territory.
Got it. Jake, let's talk about KC.
Well, he has obviously a wide variety of businesses in Kansas City. It's a decent sized area. Just the usual stuff. I've got a painting business listed for sale. Um, and I've talked to some automotive ones, body shops, mechanics, that kind of stuff. Fairly popular. But I mean, if there's a type of business, I mean, it's probably around here. So it's
Right.
pretty standard.
So I got to ask this question. The industries, Jake, you just referenced, there are industries, I've got tax and accounting clients in many of those industries. And without being, I'm not being critical of any company or any industry, but I will say that those industries, the owner operators, maybe they've got 5 or 6 contractors or employees. Man, their books and records can be rough to get through on, for tax return, and I try to get them to recognize the benefits of spending, all in a couple $1,000s a year on accounting services will really help them manage their business and all that. And many of them just don't want to. They don't want to spend the money, and I don't make any money off of bookkeeping. Really, the margin is so tight, so it's not like I want to do it as a high profit margin business. So I continue to try to push them along, and I'm just curious: uh, is that part of the screening process? Is to find those that have good books and records, Or is it if you find one that has, dodgy books and not that there's anything wrong going on, but it's sloppy, right? Do you then say, okay, we got to clean this up and get this ready for sale? How do you guys approach that?
Well, it probably depends on what the seller wants to do. If they're ready to sell, we're going to do whatever we can to get it sold. We have to work with the accountant a little bit to figure things out. But that's part of the upfront process is putting a valuation on it and seeing what all the numbers are and trying to get anything that any owner perks that are in the business, trying to add those back and find out and document what those are. It can be a little bit of a challenge, but usually with a small business, it's fairly obvious what those things are. But I mean, obviously, if you've got if it's going to sell, if a business is going to sell at 3x, and let's just say there's something that's you're not sure about something, you're going to times that whatever that is by 3 if you can add that back into the business.
Yeah. You're not doing audits when you get a company ready for sale, but I suppose the main thing that you would look at is you want to validate the revenue that has come in, right? There's got to be some enhanced due diligence on if they've said they've done 3 million in sales. You can impute profit margin or operating costs from revenue, but you can't impute revenue. So do you do some extra kind of analysis or due diligence to validate the revenue side of things?
We do look at tax returns, so hopefully that's been through an accountant. So we look at 3 years tax returns and then profit and loss for the current year. So we dig into that pretty good. And usually if there's an SBA loan involved, they often will require the seller bank statements as well. So it's going to go through that process, and the SBA is going to really dig into all that along with the lender too. So they're going to look at all that kind of thing.
Well, you mentioned SBA, Jason, funding SBA. Is the SBA doing deals?
Absolutely. The SBA is strong money for what we do. We actually, kind of like Jake said, I mean, if you're gonna come to us, if you're gonna access us through our website, gonna have a conversation. If you're willing to share the financials, share those. We vet the financials, looking to really get down to what your cash flow is, because the bank's gonna the SBA lender is gonna have certain guidelines, if you will. So we try to look at the breakdown of the sale of the business through the lens of an SBA lender, if you will, because most of the people that are coming to buy that business, Kelly, as you would probably know, are going to need that money from the SBA. It's smart money right now. So what happens is I will pop the hood on anything that comes my way, and if I look at it, talk to some of my partners and say, hey, this looks like it needs another year or two of polish. This person has been not keeping the best books. One unique resource that we do have, our newest partner, Tim Moses. If we have a business that does need that business coaching and help, we shoot that lead over to Tim, and Tim gets them on the phone and works together on repairing that business for sale, regardless of how long that'll take. So either it goes forward from Jake's desk or my desk towards moving towards getting an engagement agreement and closing and selling that business, or we put it with Tim to help fix it up.
Tim is a guy in the Kansas City area, or is he part of the wider group?
He's one of our partners now. He's a longtime associate of Chad Peterson, and just has a deep depth of business consulting and coaching knowledge. It's not going to be for everybody, but I tell you what, if your business, if it comes back from Jake or I that, hey, this doesn't look so great, here's why, perhaps you should talk to Tim. At least there's a lifeline out there for them to sort of fix or resurrect their business over the next couple of years.
Okay. Can we talk about the SBA for a minute? What it's always kind of perplexed me a bit is how much credit risk. Let me back up. The SBA works through specific commercial banks, and the banks do the credit work, if you will, the documentation. how much credit risk does the SBA bank actually take on these things?
The SBA will guarantee a certain portion of the loan, and then the bank will have a small portion of it, but the SBA will guarantee most of it. But the buyer's going to have a personal guarantee in there as well. So it's not bad for the lender, and they often go after, or they want to see a lien on their house or rental properties or assets that the buyer has. So if you have assets, they're probably going to want to stick a lien on there, just to make sure that the buyer's putting in their best effort to keep the business going and healthy.
Yeah. So my earlier point about asset-based, easier to sell, if it's all going through the SBA and the SBA is requiring personal asset guarantee, then that kind of puts it in the asset rich category, I think.
But you don't have to have physical assets for the SBA. If you have them, then they want them. But if you don't, then there's still likelihood that it will work.
And the bank will still do the deal.
A lot of the time, yes. It'll depend on obviously the numbers and the coverage ratios and all that kind of good stuff. But yeah. You want a good credit score.
Yeah. So if the deal goes south, is the bank, are they okay? Do they make enough money on the front end of the deal so they're not? I know they want to do their due diligence to a certain extent, but if the deal goes south, is the bank okay on those things?
Well, there's obviously risk involved, just like with any loan. I think the number is somewhere around 1 in 72, or maybe it's 1 in 70 something. SBA loans fail, so it's not that many. Most are going to be good going forward.
All right.
But there's always risk with any kind of loan. So.
All right. Jason, anything you want to add to that?
Well, the SBA and the lenders have that framework for success as well. You have to pass muster to be able to even to get that far down the road. So they are securing themselves in the due diligence they do beforehand.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Now, COVID, you guys were in the middle of the COVID years, a couple years ago. I would imagine nothing happened in that, right? Did business dry up in that, or was it a time people were trying to exit and survive?
Yeah, I think it went down. Business went down a little bit, but there were still deals to be had.
Were there?
There's definitely still activity. Maybe not quite as much, but a lot of businesses thrived during COVID. But just kind of what kind of business it was. Obviously restaurants struggled, right. But service-based contracting type business, they did just fine for the most part, because a lot of people were staying at home, and doing repairs or getting things fixed up that they had been putting off. So or putting in a home office, those kind of things.
All right, so I'd like to finish with somebody wants to sell a business. This isn't an infomercial podcast, but I want to give you guys the opportunity to kind of help people out, pick up some business if possible. What do you want people to do if a business owner? I guess you got the buy side, you got the sell side. If you want to buy, do they contact you, or if it's just sell?
Yeah, we can do both. This industry is geared towards people selling their business. That's kind of where the business derives from. We do have a deal finder program for buyers. It's less common, but we do have it and it works well. But yeah, so we work with sellers all the time, and we offer free valuations too. So if a seller just wants to see what their business is worth and see what that will look like and see if it makes sense for them, great, we'll do that. No cost, and we'll build that relationship with them, and when they are ready to sell, we'll hopefully be able to help them. But we are very well trained. We do great. I think we do a pretty solid job, and I think our closing rate is probably 80-90% of businesses that we list we close, whereas the average business broker is 20%, something like that. So if we take something on, we think we can sell it, and we're going to do our best to get it done.
All right. So Jake, if they're a Kansas City business, they call you. What's the phone number? Do you want them to call you or email?
Absolutely.
What do you want?
Text, call, whatever. My phone number is 913-244-9725.
Slow down, Jake. Jeez. 913
244-9725.
All right, we'll get that posted up there. But State it slowly. People don't have a pen always handy.
I,
Jason, now you get to go second, so they have their pen ready. Jason, if they're in Topeka, Lawrence, the far, kind of from Lawrence west, probably not all the way out to Garden City, but you take west of.
Garden City, Hayes, you're all welcome. Give me
Really?
a call, 913-522-0039, or Jason at petersonacquisitions.com. Looking forward to hearing from you.
Jake at petersonacquisitions.com and Jake at and Jason at, correct?
correct.
Correct.
All right. Anything else you guys have? That's all I have on my end.
I'll just add one quick thing in closing. If you're feeling the pressure, if you've lost the passion of that business, if your spouse or beloved folks are telling you it's time to hang up, give us a call. Let us run through the numbers. Let us come back to you with the real pricing of your business. And if you decide to go forward, we will do everything we can to get you over that goal line and get that thing sold properly.
That's a good close, Jason. I'm at an age now, 66, where I look back in my career and I see it's an enormous amount of pressure and stress of running a business. I always laugh at people say, "Oh, all I want to do is, they're 23 years old and they've not worked but a couple of years, and they say, all I want to do is own my business." Right? Really? Are you sure? Are you sure that's what you want? Because your income, your hourly rate, I did an analysis many years ago on what your hourly rate goes when I was at PwC and I can't even remember, this is years ago. Let's say my hourly rate was 150 or something an hour back in the 90s, and started a business, a fintech, with some guys, and we ended up selling it, so it worked out all right. But I worked out my hourly rate. It was like $1.50, right? When I looked at all the time that we spent in that first 2 or 3 years, and it's a grind. And so if you're to add on to what you just said, Jason, people that are, if it's eating them alive, if it's causing them to drink too much or smoke too much or beat their spouse or whatever, they're kick the dog,
Might be time to sell.
it might be time to sell.
Might be time to sell.
Yeah. Stress.
And conversely to that, another phrase that we have is, if you're doing well, it's time to sell too. So you might be at the top. Why not sell when you're at the top of the mountain? Because we know that all those things can erode, and you may not in a couple of years have what you had. So at least have that conversation with Jake, myself, one of our partners. We're going to shoot you straight. We're going to get to the bottom line, and we're going to do everything we can to move it forward.
Yeah. I kind of think it's a good practice to, even if you're not quite ready yet, but to go through the process of getting yourself ready, because you might need a year or two of, with this Tim Moses guy, or maybe you just need to clean up your books and records, but start now. Don't wait until you've had the heart attack, right? Plan a little bit, and then listen to others if they don't want to be around you anymore because you're too crabby. I know that because I was. Then it might be time to sell. Hey guys, enjoyed talking with you. Best of luck, and we'll do this again and maybe dig into some other industry specific things, because I love this topic. It's a really important topic. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Kelly.
Right.
Thanks, Kelly. Happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you. You too. So that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed that. These guys are good guys. It's an interesting topic. It is important to, I'm not out here encouraging people to exit their businesses, but I can't emphasize enough how don't let your dream evolve into a nightmare because you're burned out on it. It's too much stress. You don't like who you've become, or you just want to kind of enjoy your life a little bit more. So keep these guys in mind if you're in the part of Kansas City, Lawrence, Topeka, they can certainly help you. That's it for me. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. If this is a podcast, good luck. Hey, this is Kelly. Please support our sponsor, taxrxcenter.org, committed to help you reduce, remove, and resolve past, present, and future taxes. Live and recorded tips and tactics presented by top tax experts located throughout the U.S. so you can live a happier, healthier, and wealthier life, free of tax debt. Don't wait until tax time to reduce your taxes. Join taxrxcenter.org now for $19.95 per month. Thank you.
Taxman, please leave us alone. Yeah. Hey, taxman, please leave us alone.